Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. Sometimes the best thing you can do is shut your mouth. Sounds harsh? Maybe. But it's the truth. We live in a world where people talk too much. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has something to say. But not everybody listens. And that's the problem. Because words are dangerous. A single sentence can break hearts, shatter trust, and destroy reputations. A careless whisper can spark wars, end friendships, and ruin lives. So let me ask you, when was the last time you stopped to think before you spoke? When was the last time you held your tongue instead of firing off words you can never take back? See, silence isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's power. It's knowing that not every battle needs your voice. It's understanding that sometimes the best clapback is no response at all. So the next time you're tempted to gossip, to spread negativity, to argue over things that don't matter, pause, breathe. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Is this helping anyone? And if the answer is no, then shut your mouth. Because real strength isn't in the noise, it's in the control. People talk too much. It's an undeniable fact of life. Everywhere you go, there's noise, conversations, opinions, arguments, an endless chatter that fills the air. People speak just to fill the silence, to make themselves heard, to prove a point, or simply because they don't know how to stop. But the question is, how much of what is being said is actually meaningful? How much of it serves a purpose? In today's world, talking has become more than just communication. It has turned into a performance. Social media has amplified this problem, giving everyone a platform and a microphone. Now, instead of thinking before speaking, people feel an obligation to say something about everything. They rush to comment, argue, and debate on topics they barely understand. It's as if staying silent is unacceptable, as if every moment of quiet is an opportunity wasted. But what most people don't realize is that the more you talk, the less you listen. And the less you listen, the less you learn. Conversation used to be an art. People spoke with intention, with thoughtfulness, and with respect for the exchange of ideas. But now it's a competition. Who can be the loudest, the most aggressive, the most opinionated? It's no longer about communicating, it's about proving a point, winning an argument, or simply being heard over the noise. People interrupt, talk over each other, and wait impatiently for their turn to speak, instead of actually listening. They don't care about understanding, they care about responding. They don't seek wisdom. They seek validation. The worst part is that most of what is said doesn't even matter. Gossip, complaints, empty opinions, and baseless rumors spread like wildfire. People speak just to feel important, just to hear their own voices echo in a room full of others doing the exact same thing. They fill conversations with unnecessary words, repeating the same thoughts in different ways, just to keep the spotlight on themselves. Instead of speaking with purpose, they speak for attention. This obsession with constant talking is dangerous. Words have power, and when they are used recklessly, they can cause irreparable damage. A thoughtless insult, a careless rumor, a poorly chosen comment. These things can break relationships, ruin reputations, and plant seeds of doubt and insecurity in people's minds. And the worst part? Once spoken, words can never be taken back. Apologies may be given, explanations may be offered, but the damage is done. The impact remains. Silence, on the other hand, is a rare and underrated skill. The ability to hold back, to listen, to think before speaking, that is where real wisdom lies. Those who know how to control their words command more respect than those who speak without restraint. When a person who rarely talks finally speaks, people listen. Their words carry weight because they are not thrown around carelessly. Their silence builds anticipation, and when they do speak, it is with clarity, purpose, and meaning. The reality is that not everything needs to be said. Not every thought needs to be spoken aloud. Some things are better left unsaid, not because they are unimportant, but because they serve no real purpose in being voiced. Knowing when to remain silent is just as important as knowing when to speak. But in a world where talking is seen as a sign of confidence and silence is mistaken for weakness, few people understand this concept. They feel the need to fill every pause, to keep conversations going, to ensure that their voices are always heard. They fear silence because silence makes them uncomfortable. It forces them to think. It forces them to reflect. And reflection is something most people would rather avoid. People talk too much because they are afraid of what will happen if they stop. But maybe, just maybe, the real power lies in the moments of silence they are so desperate to escape. Words are powerful. They shape the way we think, influence the way we feel, and determine the way we see the world. A single sentence can inspire or destroy, uplift or break, encourage or discourage. Words have started wars and ended them. They have built nations and torn them apart. They have sparked revolutions, changed the course of history, and altered the destiny of individuals and entire societies. Yet, despite their immense power, people often throw words around carelessly, without understanding the weight they carry. A compliment at the right moment can change someone's entire day. A simple "I believe in you" can give a person the confidence to chase their dreams. Encouragement has the power to turn failure into motivation and doubt into determination. People remember the words that lifted them when they felt like giving up. They carry them like armor, using them to push forward in moments of weakness. Words of love, support, and affirmation stay imprinted on the heart, playing over and over like a song that never fades. They become a source of strength in times of uncertainty. But just as words can heal, they can also destroy. A harsh insult, an unkind remark, or a careless comment can leave scars deeper than any physical wound. Some words are spoken in anger, meant to cut, meant to hurt, and even when the moment passes, the damage remains. A person may forget what you did, but they will never forget how your words made them feel. Cruel words echo in the mind long after they are spoken, replaying in moments of insecurity, reinforcing doubts, and fueling self-hatred. Words can manipulate, deceive, and control. They can twist the truth, spread lies, and turn people against one another. The wrong words at the right time can poison relationships, destroy reputations, and ignite chaos. Entire lives have been ruined by false accusations, by rumors spread without thought, by careless statements spoken without proof. A single sentence can be enough to destroy trust, and once trust is broken, it is nearly impossible to rebuild. Words have the power to shape identity. The things people hear about themselves, especially from a young age, become part of who they are. If someone is constantly told they are not good enough, they begin to believe it. If they are told they are worthless, they start to act like it. Words define self-perception, and self-perception determines everything else. The way people speak to children, to friends, to loved ones, even to strangers, can leave a lasting impact far greater than they realize. The power of words is not only in what is said, but also in how it is said. Tone, delivery, and intention all play a role. The same words can comfort or wound, depending on how they are spoken. A joke can either bring laughter or cause pain. An opinion can either start a meaningful discussion or spark an unnecessary argument. The difference is in the way it is expressed. Words, when used with thought and care, can bring people closer. When used recklessly, they can tear people apart. The written word holds just as much power as the spoken one. Books, speeches, poems, and letters have changed lives. A single line in a book can resonate with someone so deeply that it alters their perspective forever. Words written centuries ago still hold meaning today. They survive beyond the people who wrote them, carrying messages through time, influencing generations long after the original voices have faded. The responsibility that comes with words is one most people take for granted. Every word spoken, every sentence written, every message sent carries consequences. Words are not just sounds or symbols, they are forces that can build or destroy. Choosing them wisely is not just a matter of intelligence, but a matter of character. Those who understand the power of words use them carefully, knowing that once spoken they can never be taken back. Think before you speak. It sounds simple, yet it is one of the hardest things for people to do. Words come quickly, emotions take over, and before there is even a moment to consider the impact, something has already been said. But once words leave the mouth, they cannot be taken back. An apology may be given, explanations may be made, but the damage has already been done. That is the power of speech. It moves faster than thought, and when used carelessly, it leaves destruction in its wake. In moments of anger, words often escape without control. People say things they do not mean, hurl insults, or make accusations they later regret. But the mind does not distinguish between what is meant and what is said in the heat of the moment. The person on the receiving end will remember, and even if they forgive, they may never forget. A single sentence can shatter trust, wound deeply, and change a relationship forever. No matter how much regret follows, some words leave permanent scars. Thinking before speaking is not about suppressing emotions, but about ensuring that emotions do not cause irreversible damage. It is not just anger that causes careless speech. Impatience, excitement, and even the need to fill silence can lead to thoughtless words. People blurt out secrets, spread rumors, or reveal personal information without considering the consequences. A careless remark can expose someone's vulnerabilities, betray a friend's confidence, or turn a harmless conversation into a source of hurt. Many conflicts arise not because of bad intentions, but because words were spoken without thought. Taking a moment to pause before speaking could prevent misunderstandings, unnecessary arguments, and irreversible harm. Thinking before speaking also means considering whether words are even necessary. Not everything needs to be said. Some thoughts are better kept to oneself, some opinions are better left unspoken, and some truths are best delivered with care. Honesty is important, but there is a fine line between being truthful and being hurtful. Telling someone the truth in a way that destroys their confidence, humiliates them, or makes them feel small serves no purpose. It is not just about what is said, but how it is said. A well-chosen phrase can make the same point without causing unnecessary pain. Listening is just as important as thinking before speaking. Too often people focus on what they are going to say next, rather than truly hearing what is being said to them. They interrupt, talk over others, or respond without fully understanding. This leads to miscommunication, frustration, and conversations that go nowhere. Pausing to absorb what someone else is saying before responding creates better conversations, deeper understanding, and stronger relations. A response that is thoughtful and measured is always more powerful than one that is rushed and reactive. The ability to think before speaking is a sign of wisdom, maturity, and self-control. It requires patience, awareness, and an understanding of the impact words can have. Those who master it are not easily drawn into unnecessary arguments. They do not waste words on gossip, insults, or meaningless chatter. Their words carry weight because they do not speak just for the sake of speaking. When they do talk, people listen because they know that their words are chosen with care. It takes only a second to pause and consider whether what is about to be said is necessary, kind, or useful. That second can make the difference between a conversation that builds and one that destroys. In a world full of noise where words are thrown around carelessly, the ability to think before speaking is rare. But it is also one of the most valuable skills a person can have. A moment of thought before speaking can prevent a lifetime of regret.
Silence is strength. In a world that glorifies loud voices, quick responses, and constant chatter, silence is often mistaken for weakness. People assume that those who do not speak often have nothing to say, that those who choose to remain quiet or unsure or incapable, but true strength is not in the noise. It is in the ability to hold back, to observe, to think before reacting. Silence is not the absence of power, it is the presence of control. It is the ability to resist the urge to fill every moment with words and instead let actions, wisdom, and patience speak louder. There is strength in silence because it allows for thought. When emotions run high, when tempers flare, and when arguments ignite, the natural instinct is to respond immediately, to defend, to retaliate. But words spoken in the heat of the moment are rarely wise. They are driven by anger, frustration, or impulse rather than reason. Those who master silence understand that not every comment requires a response, not every insult deserves an answer, and not every argument needs participation. Walking away, choosing not to engage, and refusing to waste words on meaningless debates is a sign of self discipline. Silence is often the mark of a great listener. While most people are focused on what they will say next, waiting for their turn to speak, those who value silence are absorbing information, understanding perspectives, and processing details that others miss. Listening requires patience and restraint, but it also provides knowledge. The more a person listens, the more they learn, and knowledge is power. Those who remain silent while others speak gain an advantage. Not only do they understand the situation better, but they also hold the element of surprise. When they finally do speak, their words carry more weight because they are chosen carefully and spoken with purpose. Silence also protects peace. Words can create unnecessary conflict, stir emotions, and escalate situations that could have been avoided. Many relationships have been damaged, careers ruined, and friendships broken over things that should have been left unsaid. The ability to remain silent, to choose inner peace over pointless confrontation, is a form of strength that few possess. It takes courage to resist the urge to defend oneself against baseless accusations. It takes wisdom to ignore words meant to provoke. And it takes confidence to understand that validation does not come from proving oneself to others, but from knowing one's own worth. There is power in making silence uncomfortable for those who rely on noise. People who talk too much often do so to mask insecurity. They fill the air with words because they are afraid of what silence might reveal. They fear the stillness that forces them to reflect, to face their thoughts, to acknowledge their own weaknesses. But those who embrace silence find peace in it. They are not afraid of their own thoughts, nor do they need constant approval or attention from others. Their strength comes from within, and it is unshaken by the chaos around them. In moments of tension, silence can say more than words ever could. It forces others to pay attention, to wait, to wonder. It commands respect without needing to demand it. Silence can make people uncomfortable, force them to reflect on their own words, and create an impact far greater than any argument ever could. A well timed pause, a quiet gaze, or the refusal to react can shift the balance of power in any conversation. Those who understand this use silence not as an escape, but as a strategy. The world is full of voices fighting to be heard, of people speaking just to say something rather than to say something meaningful. In this constant noise, silence stands out. It is not a sign of submission, but of self-mastery. It is the tool of the wise, the weapon of the strong, and the sanctuary of those who understand that sometimes the most powerful statement is saying nothing at all. Not every battle needs your voice. In a world that thrives on opinions, arguments, and debates, people feel the need to speak on everything. There is an overwhelming urge to defend, to correct, to prove a point. Every disagreement feels like a challenge. Every misunderstanding feels like an attack, and every conversation turns into an opportunity to win rather than to understand. But the truth is, not every argument is worth engaging in. Not every situation requires words. Silence, restraint, and the wisdom to walk away are far more powerful than any statement that could be made. The need to speak in every situation often comes from ego. People want to be right. They want to make sure their perspective is known, their intelligence is recognized, and their voice is heard. But in doing so, they waste energy on battles that do not matter. Not every opinion needs a counterpoint. Not every mistake needs to be corrected. Sometimes people argue not to learn, but simply to argue. They are not looking for truth, they are looking for validation. Engaging in such battles is not a sign of strength, it is a sign of misplaced priorities. There are battles that lead to nothing but frustration, arguments that have no solution, debates that go in circles, and disagreements that only fuel negativity. Speaking in these situations does not change minds, it only drains energy. Some people will never be convinced, no matter how logical or reasonable an argument is. Their beliefs are not based on facts, but on emotions, experiences, or sheer stubbornness. Trying to prove a point to them is like shouting into the wind. It serves no purpose, and in the end, it is only the one shouting who feels exhausted.
Some battles are simply traps. People provoke, criticize, or challenge, not because they seek resolution, but because they seek reaction. They want a response, a sign that they have control over someone's emotions. They thrive on conflict, and the more engagement they receive, the more powerful they feel. The best way to win against such people is not to fight at all. Ignoring, walking away, and refusing to play their game is the ultimate victory. Silence is not a sign of defeat, it is a sign of wisdom. It is knowing that some fights are not worth the cost of participation. There are also battles that, even if won, bring no real benefit. Winning an argument at the cost of a relationship is not a victory. Proving a point at the expense of peace is not an achievement. Some words, once spoken, create damage that cannot be undone. Some conflicts, once started, leave wounds that do not heal. The price of being right is sometimes too high, and in those moments, silence is the better choice. Letting go, choosing peace over pride, and understanding that some things are best left unsaid is not weakness, it is wisdom. Knowing which battles are worth fighting is the mark of emotional intelligence. There are fights that matter, fights for justice, for truth, for what is right. These battles deserve voices, strength, and persistence. But there are also battles that serve no purpose, conflicts that bring nothing but chaos, and debates that are fueled only by pride. Choosing which ones to engage in is what separates those who are truly strong from those who are simply loud. The world is full of people shouting, arguing, and fighting battles that do not matter. But the ones who are truly powerful are not the ones who win every argument. They are the ones who know which battles are worth their voice and which are better left in silence. It takes strength to speak, but it takes even more strength to know when not to. Real strength is in control. It is not in loud voices, impulsive reactions, or the ability to overpower others with words or action. True strength is found in restraint, in the ability to manage emotions, and in knowing when to act and when to remain still. It is not about proving power to the world, but about having power over oneself. Those who lack control are slaves to their impulses, reacting without thought, speaking without wisdom, and acting without considering the consequences. But those who master control hold real power, not only over themselves, but over the situations around them. Anger is one of the greatest tests of strength. It is easy to lash out, to let frustration take over, to allow emotions to dictate words and actions. But true strength is in holding back, in thinking before responding, in refusing to let anger become destruction. People often mistake aggression for power, but anyone can yell, insult, or fight. It takes real discipline to remain calm when provoked, to choose patience over retaliation, and to walk away when it is wiser to do so. Control over anger is not suppression, it is mastery. It is the understanding that not every situation deserves a reaction, and that the strongest person in the room is often the one who does not engage. Control is also the ability to manage emotions beyond anger. Fear, jealousy, frustration, sadness, these feelings are natural, but they do not have to dictate behavior. People who lack control allow their emotions to consume them, to cloud their judgment, to drive their decisions. But those with real strength recognize their emotions without being ruled by them. They do not let temporary feelings lead to permanent mistakes. They understand that emotions are signals, not commands. They acknowledge them, process them, and then choose their response with intention rather than impulse. Words are another test of true strength. It is easy to speak without thinking, to respond without considering, to say things that cannot be taken back. But those who understand the power of words use them wisely. They do not speak just to be heard, nor do they use words as weapons. They choose silence when it is needed, speak only when necessary, and ensure that their words serve a purpose. Control over speech is not weakness, it is intelligence. It is the ability to influence without shouting, to lead without dominating, and to communicate without creating unnecessary conflict. Self-discipline is one of the clearest signs of true strength. Those who control their habits, their routines, and their actions are the ones who achieve the greatest success. They do not allow distractions to derail their progress. They do not let temporary pleasures override long-term goals. They understand that real power comes from consistency, from making choices that align with their values, and from refusing to be controlled by temptation. Whether it is in health, work, relationships, or personal growth, self-control determines the outcome of everything. Strength is not in reacting to everything, in proving oneself in every situation, or in overpowering others. It is in knowing when to act and when to wait, when to speak and when to stay silent, when to push forward and when to step back. It is in resisting the urge to be ruled by emotions, in choosing discipline over chaos, and in focusing on what truly matters instead of being distracted by what does not. The strongest people are not the loudest, the most aggressive, or the most forceful. They are the ones who remain steady in the face of chaos, who stay calm when others lose control, and who make choices with wisdom rather than impulse. They do not need to prove their strength to anyone, because they already know they have it. Real strength is not in force, it is in control.